Hey everybody, I'm going to be talking about how high fructose corn syrup in sodas, in soft drinks, sugar-sweetened beverages causes heart attacks. And to do this, I'm going to talk about a study that was published in 2020, November, called Synergistic Effects of Fructose and Glucose on Lipoprotein Risk Factors for Cardiovascular Disease. And in this study, they had 45 participants, 145 participants. They are given drinks sweetened with aspartame, glucose, fructose, or high fructose corn syrup for 2 weeks. In the high fructose corn syrup group, after just 2 weeks, there was 17% higher LDL cholesterol, 15% higher apolipoprotein B, which is another marker for cardiovascular disease, and 11% higher triglycerides. All of these are markers that are causal. They cause cardiovascular disease. So if you have higher LDL cholesterol, higher apolipoprotein B, and higher triglycerides, you have a greater risk of cardiovascular disease compared to having lower levels of those. And for the people who consumed high fructose corn syrup, which is again in sugar-sweetened beverages, in soft drinks, people who consumed those drinks had higher levels of these risk factors that cause heart attacks over the long term. And this occurred in just 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks of drinking these beverages, these high fructose corn syrup containing beverages. So here's what the study looked like. Subjects were given beverages to drink 3 times per day, containing either aspartame, glucose at 25% of daily energy requirements, that's a lot of glucose, fructose at 17.5% of daily energy requirements, fructose at 25%, high fructose corn syrup at 17.5%, high fructose corn syrup at 25%, and sucrose at 25%. All of daily energy requirements. So they say if you eat 2,000 calories a day, 25% would be 500 calories per day in terms of fructose, high fructose corn syrup, sucrose, etc. The patients were told to refrain from drinking any other sugar-sweetened beverages. Riboflavin was added to the drinks as a biomarker for adherence and tested in the urine. Urinary riboflavin was low at the beginning, rose throughout the study, and did not rise differently between the participants in each group over the course of the study, indicating that the biomarker worked and that adherence was similar between groups. The trial was double-blinded and on an outpatient basis, so not people like living in the hospital, people coming into the hospital on a periodic basis to have different things checked, be given the drinks, etc. Subjects were not randomized, but groups were matched for sex, BMI, and concentrations of fasting triglyceride, cholesterol, HDL, cholesterol, and insulin at baseline. So we try to get everybody in each group at similar levels of each at baseline. Correspondingly, the groups were matched for the means of those parameters, the averages. This is important because differing baseline metabolic characteristics could skew the results between groups, so matching them minimizes the bias. There were minimal dropouts in each group. Minimal dropouts means that something from the intervention did not cause people to drop out and the results to be artificially biased. There was no significant increase in body weight over the course of the study, meaning that the results found could not be caused by a change in body weight. A before and after comparison was used with aspartame as the control. All fructose-containing drinks increased 24-hour triglycerides, 24-hour uric acid, fasting LDL cholesterol, fasting apolipoprotein B. Increased all of those. The increases in each category were: for 24-hour triglycerides, fructose increased more than high fructose corn syrup and glucose. For fasting LDL cholesterol, fructose at 25%, high fructose corn syrup at 25% increased more than fructose, and high fructose corn syrup at 17.5%. Fasting apolipoprotein B, again, fructose and high fructose corn syrup increased that more than the others, and then 24-hour uric acid, fructose increased that more than the others. In other words, fructose-sweetened beverages bad. The graph is as follows. All bars with different subscripts are significantly different from each other. Again, fructose sweetened beverage is bad. Even though the groups being tested here have only a relatively small number of subjects, the dose-response relationships for some of the parameters increases our confidence that the effects are real. Again, fructose sweetened beverages, bad. As you can see, glucose only increased uric acid, triglycerides, and ApoC3 present on the major energy-containing lipoproteins in the blood, not the other lipoproteins, the bad ones. However, high fructose corn syrup containing both fructose and glucose often had a more potent effect than fructose alone. This is interesting because it suggests that glucose and fructose interact to worsen metabolic parameters. The investigators measured this interaction in post-hoc analyses and found that the interaction between glucose and fructose accounted for a substantial proportion of the effect not accounted for by glucose or fructose alone. So there's an interaction. In other words, fructose by itself is bad, glucose is either not bad or not very bad, but fructose plus glucose are horrible together. This is important because fructose plus glucose is the main form of dietary sweetener in the Western diet. In other words, horrible. The study authors account for this in the following hypothetical model supported by other research. And you guys can see this if you're on the YouTube channel. And if you're on the podcast, you want to check out the YouTube channel, you want to check out this figure specifically. It's about 6 minutes, 30 seconds in the YouTube video. Okay, but in this model, to simplify somewhat, fructose increases secretion of energy-containing triglyceride-rich lipoproteins, which then become LDL after the energy in the triglyceride-rich lipoproteins is used. Glucose blocks the uptake of LDL by the liver and encourages oxidation in the blood. This is just a hypothetical model, so please do not bandy about for the next 10 years on Twitter as if it is the truth, or I will personally kill you. This is a joke, and I will not kill anyone on Twitter support. Takeaways. Number 1. Consumption of fructose-containing beverages increases factors that contribute to heart disease, dementia, etc. in a dose-response manner. This means soft drinks, sweetened teas, etc. 2 bottles of Coca-Cola would get many people to similar doses to this study, so just 2 bottles. Even if you maintain a healthy weight, you will still increase those risk factors if you consume sugar-sweetened beverages. In other words, sugar-sweetened beverages and saturated fat have very similar effects on lipoproteins involved in heart disease risk. Bad. Number 2 takeaway. Sugar is not sugar. Glucose and fructose are metabolically different, so your bread, even if it was liquid, and it is not, more in a moment, is not the same as Coca-Cola. Stop saying all carbs are sugar. Link this thread to anyone who says all carbs are sugar. They aren't. Number 3rd takeaway. This isn't directly addressed by the study, but cane sugar has the same metabolic effects as high fructose corn syrup. Don't think it is any different because it is not. Caveats. This is in sugar-sweetened beverages, not in foods. Fruit does not have the same effects as Coca-Cola, so don't even. And bread does not have the same effects as glucose either, so do not even. The findings of the study also need to be replicated. For people digging into the study, just note that some of the figures in Table 2 are broken. Yes, I'm aware of it, not sure why, but you can figure out what the actual figures are by using the confidence intervals. This should still probably be corrected by the journal. This is how you tweet about studies on Twitter. Teach, don't propagandize. See, I'm one of my friends. What would be nice is if Twitter had a feature that gave users ready access to the best take in any given study, attaches a link tweeted that study so that bad actors cannot really distort everything that comes out. Smash down all echo chambers, restore sanity. Thanks for reading. If you like my stuff, please become a patron or send a one-time donation. Every contribution makes a big difference. Addendum 1. Yes, most sugar-sweetened beverages are sweetened with high fructose corn syrup. This is glucose plus fructose. Some are sweetened with just sucrose, aka table sugar. Sucrose is also glucose plus fructose. Almost everything that is sweetened and does not use an artificial sweetener is sweetened with glucose plus fructose. In contrast, starchy carbohydrates are broken into only glucose. Critical distinction. Addendum 2. Liquids are metabolized differently than solid foods because solid foods must be broken down before they are absorbed. This means that they are absorbed more slowly and further down the gastrointestinal tract. So the speed of absorption changes with solid foods, which changes the body's response to these foods. Furthermore, because the GI tract is a hormone-secreting organ, absorption lower in the GI tract will change the hormonal signaling and thus change the body's metabolic response. These two reasons are why we cannot confidently extrapolate from this study to solid foods containing fructose. We need separate studies to know the metabolic/lipoprotein effects of such foods. Other data indicate that solid foods do not cause these effects. Addendum number 3. This is a very similar designed to a study that found very similar results. Now I feel confident with these results. Don't drink sugary drinks, kids. And this other study was called, for listeners/readers, and it was linked by Jacob Goodile, who's a great communicator. It's called a dose-response study of consuming high fructose corn syrup sweetened beverages on lipid lipoprotein risk factors for cardiovascular disease in young adults. It is by Stanhope et al. 2015, American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. Addendum number 4. Don't you like I'm numbering my addenda all official like? Getting this question a lot. What was the question? Jeez, he deleted it. My bad. Well, so he says, what was the question? Fruit juices. It was about fruit juices. And I said, I don't think there's a clear answer. Unfortunately, I've included some screenshots from a recent review. Suffice to say that whole fruits are probably better bet. Yet, this does not necessarily mean that blended fruits are bad. We don't know, but if you want to hedge your bets until we have more data, it wouldn't be a bad idea to focus on whole fruits over blended or fruit juice. And that is this badass study that I hope you guys enjoyed. Check out my Twitter at KevinNBass, KevinNBass. Same as Instagram, same as TikTok. Also same as Patreon. Go be a patron for me. Help me out. You can also check out thedietwars.com. You can support me at thedietwars.com/support-me. Also check me out on my podcast at The Kevin Bass Show. Please leave a review on Apple iTunes, on Apple Podcasts, that is. Make sure the word gets out that this is the baddest ass nutrition health podcast on the internet. And then check out my YouTube channel, K-Bass Philadelphia, Kevin Bass, YouTube. It's going to be linked in the description. All of this is going to be linked in the description. Like, comment, click, subscribe, all that jazz. And, help the algorithm. Bust me out of YouTube jail. Get me like 1 million views a day. That's the goal. And the more you interact, share, engage, etc., the sooner that will happen. So, that would be much appreciated. Thanks for watching the video. You guys are the best. Peace.